I learned quite young in life that my mother really didn't like to cook. Oh, she wasn't a bad cook, she just didn't like it. It was work. And so it didn't shock me that when I grew older and would go back home for visits, we'd go out to one of her favorite restaurants. That's when there were still restaurants in town. I remember the first time, however, that I snatched the check from the waitress before she got her hands on it. She watched me like a hawk. First of all, I pulled out a credit card, which was just out of her realm of reality. And then when I penned in the tip amount, she went crazy. That's way too much. You're only supposed to give X. And besides, she wasn't worth that much. And so ensued a rather lively discussion about tipping and generosity. I lost the conversation, which I probably knew I would because the family I grew up in was anything but generous. There was a strange sort of calculus, an accounting system that ran in everybody's heads that kept track of who gave what to whom and how much it was, and make sure that you repay it so that you're not beholden to anybody. But generosity, that was a foreign concept. I'm not sure where I learned generosity. It just sort of happened. But I think it had a lot to do with my growing understanding of my relationship with God. There came a point where it dawned on me that everything I had, the people around me, the gifts, my abilities, all of it came from God as a gift. Even my salvation, my eternal life, it was all gift. I didn't deserve it. I didn't even ask for it. It was just given. And if that was the case, if everything I had was from God, why not be generous? Why not share? And so I began to be freer with not only my wealth, but my time and my talents. That's not to say there hasn't been a lot of pushback from folks about that. I still get accused all the time of giving away my writing and my artwork with the prices that I charge. Dad, you're not making any money. Well, I keep reminding folks I'm not in to make money, I'm in it to make people happy. And isn't that what generosity is about? To make others feel alive, happy. I don't give out of obligation. That's part of the reason I have trouble with the whole notion of tithing, because it puts a limit on my generosity. If I give my 10% to the church, I've done it. Well, no. God didn't stop at 10% of God. He gave it all. So I could be a little more generous. And yet there is this strange sense that creeps in every once in a while that because of generosity, because I am a generous person, at least I think so, I should be rewarded for my generosity. God should give me back, kind of a quid pro quo. And as long as that blessedness happens, we're okay with being a little generous. There's a marvelous story in the Old Testament that kind of hits it at this whole notion of generosity and the accounting piece. It's the story of Elijah. Elijah's on the run. He's managed to tick off the king and the queen. They want to kill him. And so he runs. And periodically he reaches the end of his rope and he prays to God that he might die. And he's at one of those junctions when God says, go to Zarephath and you'll find a widow there gathering sticks. Go see her and ask her to feed you. He goes, he finds the widow, and he asks her to feed her. And she said, I can't. I only have enough food for my son and I for one last meal, and then we're going to die. And Elijah says, that's fine, but cook me something first. And she does. And we're told that her bag of flour and her cruse of oil never run out. Wow, what a blessing. A reward for her generosity. And we all kind of stand back and go, yeah, that's the way it should be. But then we go to the next episode in the story, the one we almost never read. Her son dies. That's not supposed to happen. And yet we live in a world where those things indeed do happen. Loved ones die. We get sick. We lose our jobs. Our marriages fall apart. Our world gets turned upside down. We fear for our security, our safety. We worry about the future. All of it happens. And God's response in the midst of all that stuff is to be present with us. His response to the widow is to send Elijah in, and Elijah brings the boy back to life. God steps in the midst of our uncertainties, our griefs, our fears, our anxieties, all the stuff that we're feeling right now. And says, I will be with you. And he surrounds us with a great company of those to support us. He continues to bless us with gifts of grace and love, that we might be revived. He gives us the promise of the resurrection, so that we might dare to be generous, because why not? We have nothing to lose, not even our lives. I guess in the midst of that witness, that's why I'm still generous. Even though the world around me right now tells me to draw inside, I guess it's no longer in my nature to do that. How about you?